Okay, I don't know what happened there. So, anyways, another kind of cool thing about the Anasazi, okay, is the way they hunted. Okay, and the way they hunted was something called an addle. Let's see if we can spell this. An addle. Let's see if it is spelled out. Okay, an addle, and what that is it's a spear that has like a double spear to it here. Oh, I got a checkboard. Okay, so you got one stick there, okay, that has like a hook on it, okay, and then you have a spear that has another hook on it that's super, super long. And so if you just grab a spear and you throw it, it goes so fast. But what you do is you take the one stick, okay, and you hook it on the end, and then it's much larger, and you can actually go like that. And that lateral, if thrown correctly, can actually kill an elk, which is like crazy the way that their technology kind of got them forward. Now, um, another thing about these cities, okay, is they also had a vast trade network. Now, they're not themselves making enough food to survive as a cash crop, but they do mine. Okay, so the Anasazi did mine. They also were basket weavers and they made pottery and they traded with the Mississippian. But they also traded with the Aztecs. Okay. And maybe here we can draw on the board right here. I forgot I had this behind me. So right here we've got, okay, I don't know why I made Texas so big. Okay. But you got right here, here's the United States, right? So you got the Mississippian right here. You got the Aztecs, or sorry, you got the Anasazi right here. But if you come down here, here's Mexico. Okay. You've got a civilization right here. This is the Aztecs. Now, the Aztecs, the Mississippi, and the Anasazi, they were all around at the same time. The question is, did they ever have this cultural diffusion or this hip interaction? And the answer is yes. There was a trade network here, but the larger one was a road that connected the Aztecs to the Anasazi. Okay. Now, what were they trading? They were trading goods. They also traded people. Okay, we know the Aztecs. They had slaves. Okay, of people that they had conquered. But you also have people up here that the Anasazi and Mississippian are conquering, and they're selling down. Their major transport is corn, and the major transport of the Anasazi is actually a stone. Okay, now this road, this road connects them. So I want you to think kind of like the road that connected Europe to Asia, the Silk Road. America had a similar road, okay, and that road is known as the Turquoise Road. Okay, and turquoise, little bluish greenish rock. Okay, and the turquoise was mined throughout this area and it was traded. Now, you probably haven't ever heard of this road as the Turquoise Road because that's not what the Spanish called it. Okay, the Spanish, they called it the road to El Dorado. Okay, and we assume that that road that the Spanish were trying to find this El Dorado, this awesome city that was supposedly paved with gold, was either Cahokia of the Mississippian or Puebla Bonita of the Anasazi. So the Europeans, they were able, the Spanish in particular, they were able to conquer all this land really, really quick. Okay, Cortez showed up in 1512. By the end of 1500 or the year 1600, the 15th century 1600, the Spanish had claimed all this land. How the heck did the Spanish find all this land so quickly? Well, there's a 5-lane highway. They just walked up the Turquoise Road and they claimed it all the way up. Okay, they didn't have to go out conquering. There was a paved road. Okay, known as this Turquoise Road. Okay, so I remember the Turquoise Road. Okay, all right. Now, let's think. Okay, all right. Let's learn. Look at a little bit about these societies. Okay, and learn from them, and then we'll talk about what happened to the Anasazi. So here's the Anasazi. Right here. This is Mesa Verde. Okay. And all right, here, if any of you have been here to Mesa Verde, you're saying, "Oh, I've been here." Okay, maybe at this point, pause and kind of describe. Right here, here's those big 5-story buildings. Okay, really big. And then you have right here these circle things. These circle things, these are known as the kivas, okay, that we talked about. And right here is a big one. Okay, there's all over here. This big one here, this probably holds 50, 60 people, okay? And this was their cultural, religious, governmental, and economic centers, okay? And if you've been here, this is very much a protected area, and it's one of the most preserved cliff-dwelling civilizations that still exist, okay? And it's in Colorado. Now, this right here, this is a picture of what one of their pit houses would have looked like. Interesting, they've got like this altar thing, okay? And then they would have slept up in these, okay, with the cedar planks or pieces of wood coming across. And then this is in Chaco Canyon. This was their largest city. Look how big that kiva is, right? This is Pueblo Bonita. Now, Pueblo Bonita has kind of depleted. Okay, it's not nearly as grand as it used to be. It's not as protected as Mesa Verde. Okay, but it is still so Mesa Verde is super protected from the elements. Pueblo Bonita not so much. So it's kind of deteriorated, but you can certainly go here. This is in kind of central north New Mexico. Okay, all right now. Here's a little bit about the Anasazi. They were great pottery makers. This right here is, excuse me, some of the Anasazi gods. And then this it's known as the 100 Hands Cave. Okay. But this is where some of the Anasazi put their hands, and this is from long time ago when this civilization would have thrived. Okay. Now, so let's get back to your notes and talk about what happened to the Anasazi, and then we'll tell a few more stories. So, all right, what happened, right? What happened to these Anasazi? Well, we know, okay, that based off of, again, looking at the land and understanding the rocks and different things, we know that between the years 1125 and 1180, there was a 55-year drought. Okay, a 55-year drought, pretty nasty. Okay, now we are right now in Utah experiencing, I think we're on like year 17 of a drought, and we can see how much our lakes are going down, how much our rivers. This really puts a damper on your society and your ability to grow food. So civilizations really start to go down. We also then know that between the years 1270 and 1274, there actually was no rain, period. It didn't rain. Okay. We know this because of, again, digs, looking at the rocks and trees. And we also know this because of reading some of the petroglyphs and pictoglyphs that we're going to look at in just a moment. Okay. And then they did have a brief where they did get some rain, but then again, in the year 1276 till 1290, there was once again back into a drought. So while the Mississippian during this time period are experiencing massive flooding, here in the American Southwest, there is a lot of drought. Okay. And then in the year 1300, with a severely depleted civilization because of the lack of food, in the year 1300, nomadic tribes, okay, nomads are going to come in and conquer them, okay? And these nomadic tribes are tribes like the Utes are going to come in, okay? Or the Paiutes are going to come in. Or maybe you've even heard of the Goshutes. But the largest one that came in were the Navajo, okay, or the Dene people, okay, and they're the ones who came in and really took most of the Anasazi land. Now, however, there are going to be some remain, okay, of the Anasazi, but today they are not called the Anasazi. Today they are known as the Hopi Indians, okay? And the Hopi tribe is the tribe that's kind of around the Grand Canyon. If you've been to especially the North Rim of the Grand Canyon onto that reservation, that is the Hopi Reservation. That is the ancestors of these Anasazi. So the Anasazi are still here today. They're just known as the Hopis. So, all right, let's show you some of the cool places that you, as a person living in Utah, that you can go and visit. Okay, and I'll tell some stories about these places. So, all right, so right here, we got a map of Utah. Here, we're gonna actually present this, make it bigger. Okay, so we got this map of Utah, right? So, first thing you need to know is, despite what you may think, people live south of Provo. Okay, now, as a person from southern Utah myself, I'm deeply offended by all of you people from the big city who think you're also important because you live in a populated area. My wife happens to be one of those people. I've since forgiven her, but she's from Kaysville, and we went on our honeymoon to San Diego, and we drove. And so on our way back, we've just had this wonderful honeymoon, and we hit Provo, and she turns to me and she says, "Oh, it's so nice to be back in Utah." And I'm like, "We've been in Utah for 3 hours. I don't even know you anymore." Just kidding. Okay. So people live south of Provo. Okay. We are humans too. This is where I'm from. I'm down from here. But anyways, so let me tell you 2 places that you can go. So next time you drive from Salt Lake City down to St. George, okay, you're probably about halfway through. You stop at Scipio, I assume, at that gas station that has like the petting zoo that you can go through, and you stop and you get a hot dog and diarrhea, right? So you stop there, but then you eventually have to make another stop at Cove Fort. Okay. So if you've been to Cove Fort, right here at I-70, okay, instead of continuing down and eventually like maybe going to Beaver and getting that ice cream, instead take just a 10-minute drive. It's not far. Just a 10-minute drive right up I-70 to a place that is known as the Fremont Indian or Fremont Anasazi Indian Museum. Okay. And what you're going to see here, okay, is that is where this is. Okay. But also, there's this little cove. Okay. And it's good enough for grandma to get up and walk. It's only about a quarter-mile hike, and it's super flat, and you get out in your park and you walk around, and in this there are thousands of Anasazi Indian writings. Okay, and then there's a museum. The museum history itself is actually really, really cool. I don't know if I'd pay the $7 to go look at it, but it's an interesting one, and there's some videos that you can watch. But if you don't want to pay, it's very much worth taking 20 minutes out of your way and doing this little hike and getting to see a lot of the Fremont Indian State Park. So next time you're in St. George, this might be a fun place for you to go. Now, another place you might consider going. Okay, so next time you're on your way to Moab or to maybe Lake Powell. Okay, now, for the record, if you get to Monticello, if you come down this road, eventually you will hit Mesa Verde. Okay, so that's how you get to Mesa Verde, is this way. But next time, maybe you're going to Moab. Okay, so you come through Spanish Fork, and then you go through that canyon, and you stop at Price at that Taco Bell and get diarrhea, right? Instead of driving from Price to Green River on this terrible road that is so ugly and boring and deadly. It's haunted. Aliens. Just kidding. I don't know. But it's a rough road. Instead, you're going to take this road, okay, which there is a road here. I love this map because it shows the main highways, but I don't like it because it doesn't have this road. And you're going to come from Price down here, and then you can cross back over. Okay, and you're going to hit a town called Farron. That's where I'm from. Right there. See? That's Farron. Okay, pretty cool. Okay, now, if you've ever been to Goblin Valley is right here. Okay, so this is kind of where we are in the state. Now, where you're going to go is you're going to come to Farron. Okay, now, once you hit Farron, say hi to Millsite for me. Okay, it's my golf course. That's the picture you see. But if you go about 2 or 3 miles outside of Farron, you're going to get a small town that has 3 people in it. Okay, and it's a town called Mullen. And just outside of Mullen, you are going to find this right here. Okay, this is called the Rochester Rock Panel. Okay, it's the largest rock panel in the United States of just straight Indian artifacts, and it has the most concentrated. Here's a picture with me and my girls. That's when I had a beard. Now, it's much bigger than what you're currently seeing. The reason it's not bigger is because my wife who took the picture, she would have fallen off a cliff had she backed up any further. Okay. Now, we'll come back and look at this rock panel in just a moment. Now, the other place you might consider going, okay, is in that same area. Before you get to Farron, there's this town called Huntington. Okay. And if you come from Huntington and you drive out here, there's a place called the San Rafael Swell. Okay. It's a swell place to be. Okay. Now, you've kind of already maybe seen this, but let me tell you and show you what the swell looks like. That is the swell. They also call this the Little Grand Canyon or the Wedge. Okay. And kind of cool. When I was in high school, this is where I spent my high school. Like, this is what we did. We went to school and then there was nothing to do. So we drove out here and went hiking. And where this guy has his mountain bike, we would always take golf balls and just and put them off into the swell. In fact, here, I went to the swell. I went with my family. Sorry, I should have had this ready. I went to the swell over the summer and I took some more pictures. Let me see if I can find some of these cool looking pictures of what it was like in the swell. As we look through, sorry. Yeah, so you can maybe see, whoa, right there. There's another picture of the swell. Okay, here's a picture of me, right, standing at the swell. Pretty cool place. It's so pretty. Okay, so highly encourage you, head out to the swell. There's a lot of cool things that you can see. We'll talk more about the swell because there's also potentially aliens in the swell. All right, we'll talk about that when we get to the 1950s. But so that's a place you can go. Now, back to this Buckhorn Wash. Okay, or sorry, the Rochester Rock Path. So this is in Farron. Right here, you can see this is the grizzly bear, right, that we looked at. Also, you have here, this is a crocodile. Okay, where are we at here? Down here, there's some antelope. Okay, here's an elk. There's a deer here. There's lizards. There's snakes. Now, this rainbow-looking thing, this is, they think, some sign of like eternity, right? And then whenever you see Anasazi art with this long line, okay, a long line, and then these circles, archaeologists believe are some type of something to do with drought. Okay, so wherever there's a circle, that was a time period of drought. And then all these other things that you see here, these are the gods of the Anasazi. Okay, so you can see right here, this guy right here is a really famous god. Okay, but the god we're going to focus on is this guy right up here. He is the most famous of all the Anasazi gods. Okay, so right here you can see this god. Do any of you know what this god's name is? Let me look at another picture here. Anyone know this god? Here's another painting, a picture of him. Probably the artist is a little bit better here. Okay, here is a today version, and this is a museum in Price. But this guy right here, have any of you seen this god? Okay, it's probably a famous tattoo now. Okay, let's see if I can move this. Here we go. Okay, so this is the god. Does anyone know his name? His name is Kokopelli. Okay, Kokopelli. Now, Kokopelli is known as the god of mischief. Okay, the god of mischief. He is also known as the god of fertility. Okay, and it is said that if Kokopelli visits your village, all of your women will get pregnant. Okay, and if we look at this, where are we at? This guy right here. Okay, you can see right here. Here's Kokopelli, and what do you have here? Oh, it's a pregnant lady. She's giving birth. Okay, you can see right here, lady. There's the baby. Baby's coming out. Okay, so now you're saying to yourself, ew, that's gross. But second of all, I've got a crazy story for you. So Kokopelli visited my high school. All right, now here's the story. My high school, as I told you, was super small. There were 100 boys. Sorry, in my graduating class, there were 100 people. 50 boys, 50 girls. Couldn't have planned it any better, right? Well, my high school, Emory, our mascot is we are the Emory High Spartans, okay? But my senior year, my golf coach, who was also the baseball coach, who really liked Kokopelli, instead of on our golf uniforms it having Emory Spartans with a Spartan right here, instead it said Emory Spartans with Kokopelli. And the baseball team, instead of putting an E or a Spartan head right here, instead he put Kokopelli. Kokopelli visited my high school. Now you're saying, really? Okay, well, here's what happened. Upon graduation, like I said, 50 girls. Of those 50 girls, 25 had been or were pregnant upon graduation. Kokopelli visited my high school, and Coach Merrill was never allowed to put Kokopelli on any uniforms ever again. Huh? Now, what actually happened, it was actually the CEU baseball team. They actually shut down the program for like 5 years because they got a lot of girls pregnant. Kind of ruined senior year. But there's Kokopelli. So that is the Anasazi. You've got all of this history, and it's just 2 hours away. Really, really, really cool stuff. Okay, so where are we at on our time? We're maybe got about 20 minutes left. Okay, about 20 minutes left. All right, for our time, here's what we're gonna do. Okay, I want you to go back. Okay, to just to learn more about the Anasazi. I want you to come back to this episode and where you're going to go. Okay. Whoops. You don't need to see me anymore, but we'll put it here. Okay. Where you're going to go is you're going to search and you're going to go to, there's the mounds. Okay. And it talks about the mounds. Now you can watch this all in your free time. Okay. If you'd like to, but let's learn more about the Anasazi. And the Anasazi are going to start where? Where are the Anasazi going to start? Where's Pueblo Bonita? Okay, you're going to fast forward to... Oh, I actually have it on the slides up here. For the Anasazi. For time and just go to... Okay, so the Anasazi, you're going to start at 20:45 and you're going to run until you get to Cahokia. So you got 11 more minutes, okay? And so watch that about the Anasazi, okay? I will run it on here just in case the sound works. If the sound doesn't work, just pause it here and go and watch that about the Anasazi again. I will show it now, and then that will get you to the end of the period, okay? And we will see you on Friday. But if you have any questions, I will be in class tomorrow. So go ahead and watch that, okay? And with that, you're wonderful. Love ya. Go Utes. So let's get to where we're at, okay? So we're gonna go to 20:30, okay? And we'll just watch this.
The fading sunset, my spirit may come to you without shame. Tom White Cloud, Ojibwe.
Okay, the Anasazi. Okay, we'll make this big.
To the outsider, the sun-beaten deserts of the American Southwest are a harsh and unforgiving land, reluctant to support life. To the ancient people who lived there, it was a place where the Creator provided everything.
There is nothing there that you can see, even to this day. Very little vegetation. You see a lot of rocks. You see a lot of sand. The Hopis have always maintained that that's a chosen place for them. It was chosen for them by the Creator, the Great Spirit, for the Hopis.
The ancient people of the desert were the ancestors of all the modern Pueblo nations. To their Hopi descendants, they are known as the Hisatsinan. But to most of the world, they are known by the Navajo name, Anasazi. Around 900 AD, the Anasazi flourished in a wide circle covering parts of modern-day Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico. The Anasazi found balance with their world. They learned where to find water and how to harness it. Villages joined together to build dams, reservoirs, and irrigation canals, turning deserts into gardens of corn and squash. They were a people intimately connected to their land. In a very real sense, they emerged from it. Generations before the time of Christ, the Anasazi lived in subterranean pit houses, sunken homes with stonework walls and broad, strong roofs, formidable protection against the searing sun and bitter cold of the desert. With time, they adapted their above-ground storage houses into living spaces. But the underground pit houses were not abandoned. They were retained as spiritual places of teaching, the place of origin, the Kiva. 100 years before the first Gothic cathedrals were built in Europe, the master architects and stonemasons of the Anasazi were building great kivas that could hold 500 people. Around 900 AD, the Anasazi leadership embarked upon a bold and visionary plan. Create a mecca for pilgrimages and a focal point for trade at the very center of their land. They chose the barren, treeless Chaco Canyon, 100 miles northwest of present-day Albuquerque, New Mexico. It was a monumental undertaking. They built 400 miles of distinctive graded roads and broad avenues, all leading to the canyon. At distant points, signal stations were constructed where fires blazed to communicate across the vastness of the desert and to guide travelers at night. Over 50,000 trees were cut down in the surrounding mountains to build the towns of Chaco Canyon. Along with traders and pilgrims, the roads carried resources to maintain dozens of communities. None compared with the largest single complex the Anasazi ever built. Pueblo Bonito, the wonder of the canyon. At its peak, Pueblo Bonito's 800 rooms may have housed over 1,000 residents. Some sections overlooking the main plaza loomed 5 stories above the canyon floor. The plaza pulsated with life. Women gathered the colored corn blanketing the rooftops and knelt in rows to grind it. Children played. Men returning from the fields gathered to talk. "37 sacred kivas scattered throughout the complex speak to Pueblo Bonito's rich ceremonial life. During ceremonies, the feet of dancers pounded the ground smooth as spectators huddled against buildings and thronged the roofs to watch. But Chaco Canyon was more than a spiritual mecca. It was also a center of trade and commerce. And trade in one stone, more valuable to Chaco's Mexican trading partners than gold or jade, was the engine of the canyon's economic growth. Turquoise. Here, raw stone arrived from distant mines for the craftsmen of Pueblo Bonito to cut and shape into small tiles and beads, which were then traded south to merchant centers in the heart of Mexico. There they were transformed into extraordinary creations. For 150 years, trade fueled the Chaco economy, but the wealth and power of the canyon was fleeting. Chaco's major turquoise consumer, Tolan, in central Mexico, fell to civil strife. Extended drought or hostilities also may have contributed to the downfall of Chaco Canyon. By 1150, it was in decline, the great turquoise road over the Mexican High Sierra abandoned. But the Anasazi world still flourished. The people of Chaco Canyon simply moved to other locations. Many went north to Mesa Verde, which at that time was reaching its cultural and architectural height. There, under the shelter of the pine-studded mesas of southern Colorado, the architects of Chaco Canyon would help create some of the most stunning buildings of all time. The largest of these is known as Cliff Palace, though it is a palace in name only. These beautiful stone buildings of the Anasazi were home to common families. It was a society based on equality. Men rotated service on public works. Women plastered houses. The man who farmed also carved. Spiritual leaders tilled the fields.
Each time when I see and visit any ancient dwelling, I feel close because these are my ancestors, my forefathers for centuries. With little meditation, looking at their dwellings, within few minutes, half hour, I get refreshed.
The people of Mesa Verde and many other Anasazi towns relocated around 1300. The period of the ancestors came to an end, and the modern-day Pueblo world took shape. Traditions that live today in the American Southwest, the way of life, the architecture, the religion, are the resonance of a heritage reaching back thousands of years.